What is up, Eastern Oregon? This is Dodgy with EOAlive Sports, and today I am joined by EOU Women's Wrestling head coach Mhar Caballa. Mhar, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Did I say that right? Mhar Caballa, right?
Yep, Mhar Caballa.
I always want to say Caballa, but I didn't right there. I said it right, right?
Yep.
There's no R in there.
No R.
So you, let's just start. I mean, let's talk about your background before you became the women's coach. How did you end up at EOU?
Yeah, so right out of high school, I got a couple offers to wrestle in college, and I had 3 options. And then my head coach for high school, he was an alum for Montana State Northern.
Where'd you go to high school?
Kodiak High School in Alaska.
In Alaska?
Yep, in Kodiak, Alaska.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
What was that like?
It was crazy. You know, every weekend. So we're on an island.
Yeah.
So we have to fly out every weekend.
To get anywhere?
Yep, to get anywhere.
Wow. And that's where you grew up?
Yep, born and raised.
Wow. Okay, so then let's move on to the high school coach, wrestled at Montana State Northern.
Yep.
So talk about how you ended up there and then how you ended up here.
Yeah, so there was another, so SOU was also another school because I had a couple past teammates that went there, and Kodiak High School had a pretty good pipeline there. And I just felt as Northern was a spot just because they placed a lot of wrestlers, especially around the 125 weight class. And I just took a leap of faith and ended up there. I didn't even take a visit. I just kind of...
You just went for it.
Talked to the coach. He showed me a couple pictures, and then went up there as a freshman. Had my first 2 years there, and then my second year, during spring break, I remember I get a call from Dustin Azure. He was the assistant coach at the time, and he was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know that I am going to be leaving. I'm taking a position at Eastern Oregon University, starting up their program. But I want you to know that I want you to stay. I want you to do good just because we took second at nationals this year, and he wanted us to win it, right?"
Yeah. I mean, it's his alma mater too.
Yeah. And then right from the get-go, I flip switch, and I went, "Hey, do you need a 125 pounder?" And he was just like,
he was like, yeah.
He's like, first he was like, no, like I can't do that. Like you should stay. And I was like, no, I really want to go. And one of the main reasons was, number one, he was a good coach, and he like wrestled more of my style, and he was a lighter weight coach because the coach right now at Northern, even when I was there, he's a heavier guy.
Yeah.
So I thought his styles worked better with me. And then number 2 is closer to family. I have some family in Seattle, so a lot closer than it was in Montana.
Yeah. So you're officially Dustin's first recruit at EOU.
Yes, I would say. I don't know if I was the first signed wrestler, maybe second.
Yeah, but I mean, he hadn't even left Montana State Northern officially yet.
Yeah.
He told you, and you were like, I'm on the bus. Let's go.
Well, I remember he called everybody pretty much during spring break. He's like, "Hey, I'm leaving. Just want to let you know."
That's what good coaches do.
Yeah, that's what good coaches do, and let them know what their plans are. And then right from the get-go, I knew that was where I was going to go.
So you wrestled 2 years at EOU, or no, 3 at EOU.
Yep, 3.
Two at Montana State Northern.
Yep.
And was that wasn't because of COVID? Did you redshirt a year?
Yep. So I redshirted my freshman year at Montana State Northern.
Okay.
Yep.
And then so you finish your 3 years here, and then you come back right away as an assistant on the men's team.
Yep. Yeah. So originally, I was planning on trying to go to graduate school. Unfortunately, I didn't get in, and I ended up wanting to retake some classes, as far as my science classes, and then try it again the following year. But yeah, Azure had open arms and wanted me to stick around and help out the program.
So then we fast forward to 2022.
Yep.
Which is your first year at the helm of the women's program. What was that transition like? Like going from coaching, I mean, you probably helped with the women all along, but it's different.
Yeah.
Women are different than men.
Yeah.
What was that transition like for you?
I would just say just communicating. I think that's the main thing, just kind of having that open door communication and letting them know that I'm there for them and they could tell me how they feel. And that's an important part, because I don't know. I'm not a mind reader, right? I don't know what they're feeling or how they're doing. So just having that fine line of making sure that they're comfortable talking with me. And I still treat it like if it was a man or woman team, I still treat it as wrestling, coaching wrestling, trying to get them better on and off the mat. So that's my goal.
One of the things I always ask the women's wrestler, and I'm going to ask you this, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. Do you think that at the high school level, girls should be able to double dip? And what I mean is, do you think they should be able to wrestle in girls tournaments and then turn around and wrestle in the boys tournament as well? And then do you think that at with the progression of women's wrestling now, it's not near as prevalent as a question, but I still ask it because I want to know personally. At the college level, do you think it's ever appropriate for a woman to wrestle a man?
So as far as the high school one goes, I would say it's just the girl, if it's their preference. Like if they want to wrestle guys, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
If they don't want to, then that's their choice, right?
Yeah.
But I know growing up, even in my high school and just in general, girls had to compete against boys,
Right.
and it was different, and obviously they had to transition, and so.
I asked that question because I wrestled all the way up till 8th grade.
Yeah.
And I quit wrestling because I had to wrestle a girl. I really did.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I was always taught, you don't put your hands on a woman. You don't, you know what I mean? It just didn't work in my brain. And I kind of wish that I wouldn't have quit because I love wrestling. I love the one-on-one. That's why I was a pitcher in baseball, because it's me and the batter.
For sure.
You know what I mean? I love that, just one-on-one competition. But at the same time, I've always been a huge supporter of women's wrestling, but also a huge supporter of finding a way for us to keep it separated.
For
because,
sure.
In 8th grade, it was really awkward to wrestle a girl. And that's what I don't, that's why I appreciate what's happened with women's wrestling. Now, about the college level, do you think that at that level, their bodies are different? You know what I mean? If you weigh 125 pounds and a girl weighs or a woman weighs 125 pounds, her body is different than yours.
Yeah.
It's made differently.
Yeah.
Do you think, is there girls that wrestle against guys in college?
No.
I don't think
I would say
so,
just
right?
practice-wise. Practice-wise, for sure, 100%. But in tournaments, they have.
It just doesn't
I think
happen.
at that level, too, it's just so, it's growing so much, too, that there's just so many women out there already to create, big brackets of that.
love it.
Yeah.
So now there's no need.
There's no need. No need.
And the reality of it is that everybody's through puberty. Your muscle mass is different. You're, 125-pound dude and 125-pound woman that work out the same every day are going to have different muscle mass.
For sure.
They really are. And so that was always my stance on it. But I've also always been the dude that says, let's find girls to wrestle. You know what I mean? Because I think it's. Here's another question about girls wrestling, women's wrestling. Do you think the refs let them get away with a little bit more? I love asking.
What do you mean
question.
by get away with a little more?
I feel like when I watch women's wrestling, they're a little more they get away with a little bit more aggression.
Yeah. Well, I
know what I'm talking about?
I think it's more of a freestyle thing.
Is it? Okay, because it's a different style.
Yep. So for high school, I would say it's about the same because they're just folk style refs, and there's a couple things you can't do in folk style than in freestyle. But I say freestyle is a little more aggressive, and definitely they let you get away with snapping the head or
Right. Yeah.
It
stuff
is.
that
It
you
is.
wouldn't get away with.
Yep.
So it's you think it. And nobody's ever said that, and I've asked this question a few times. It's a style difference. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not because it's a girl or a boy.
No. I would say even the men's circuit for the world championship and
Freestyle?
everything. Yeah, freestyle in general. It's pretty physical.
And I haven't watched enough of that to really understand that, but I get it.
Yeah.
Let's move on to this team this year. Where did we finish last year?
Last year we finished 24th.
24th.
Yep.
And so, obviously, if you have the same goals as the men's team, you're trying to trophy.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit outside of trophying. moving into this season, what's the goal? I mean, where are we at? What
So,
do we want?
For me as a coach, I like
Yeah.
to trophy. I think that's like, but being realistic, I would say top 10.
Top 10?
10. We haven't broke top 10. I think we finished 10th before, but not above that. So I would say top 10 or above this year.
Top 10 or above.
Yeah.
And then what about in the CCC?
CCC, I would say top 3.
Top 3?
Yeah.
This group of women this year, is there anything that like sticks out to you that's different? You know what I mean? Like every year's team has like kind of a different culture because you're bringing in new people. You have people leave. Is there anything that sticks out to you about this team this year?
Yeah, so my goal this recruiting season was to bring in wrestlers that were just hungry, like, or starving, I should say. If they're hungry, they can find something to eat, but if they're starving, they're going to find a way, right? So I try to find those athletes that win or lose, they just, still grinded and, did good on and off the mat. But I would say with this group, I'm excited. There's going to be a lot of surprises just because our freshmen aren't in the rankings yet. Nobody really knows about them, and they're just going to come in and make some noise. But I think just they know what they want already. They're not just coming in like, oh, I'm just a part of the team. They're trying to get to their goals.
Like right off the hop.
Right off the bat. And then I think from last year's team to this year's team, I think I'm doing a better job. Obviously it's just my third year. So I think I'm doing a better job to kind of motivate them and have them really think about their goals and try to get better every day rather than thinking about an outcome or day by day type thing. Just be consistent throughout these things.
One of the things that I really appreciate about you wrestling as a whole is just the growth. And I speak of that in terms of wrestling, but I also speak of that in terms of like, there was a time, just a few years ago where Dustin was the head coach of both and he had one assistant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now you sit there and you look and we have a head women's coach, we have a head men's coach. There's like 5 assistants here, like 2 or 3 on the women's side. That's almost 10 times as many people involved or whatever it is. That just shows me that something's going right.
Yep.
Right? I mean, you don't have people just stick around involved because obviously the budget's not huge. We can't pay assistant coaches to come in from other places. And so it shows me that these people are buying in because something's going right.
Yeah.
What about, so this women's team this year, I don't necessarily want you to name names. Maybe just talk about like, but you can name names like who are the leaders? Like who do the other girls look to?
I would say definitely Brooke Cicierski.
Yeah,
she's she graduated last year. Yeah, grad student, and she's coming back, and she just has all the right values, and she's the type of teammate to check in with other wrestlers and kind of make them feel involved and welcomed, and really good leader.
Yeah.
Does everything right.
Yeah.
Irma Rotano.
She's back?
Yep,
she's
back.
1 more year.
Yeah, 1 more year.
Okay.
Yep, good leader, holds each other accountable.
She used to be a basketball player. You
Yeah,
know that, right?
I know.
Like
I know.
She played basketball, and it's so crazy, her story.
No, it is crazy. Like, I remember when she first started, I was like, what are you getting yourself into? And then the next year, I saw she had potential.
She had the Marco dog in her.
No, for sure,
dog.
for sure. I think she was just so eager to learn, and kind of took the time, and her work ethic showed.
She's gotten, like, exponentially better.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes, like 1 round away last year from All-Americaning.
Yeah.
And just starting in college, that's huge.
Basketball player. I mean, she played basketball for EOU.
Yeah.
That's a great story too. Like that you don't see that happen very often, especially wrestling. Wrestling's a tough sport. Like it takes time. You know what I mean? And she just hit the mat running, really.
Mm-hmm.
So
one more.
Oh yeah, one more. Hit me.
Liv Weber.
Oh, I was gonna ask about her. I was just gonna ask you about her. Like, of course,
does all the right things. Motivates when she needs to, and just a silent leader.
Are they all grad students too?
No. So Liv is just her last
straight
year.
up senior. Okay, yeah. And she wrestles all over the place year round.
Yeah.
Do a lot of the girls do that? Women,
I would say So I give them an option. So right after our national tournament, we probably do like a week break.
Yeah.
And then we'll jump right into it, trying to get better for next season.
Yeah.
But there's a handful, like maybe 6 or so that wrestle other tournaments, like especially trying to make the U20 world team or the U23 world team.
Yeah, because maybe some of the viewers might not know this, but there's a lot of different things that happen in the wrestling world. I mean, you got Reno, you got Fargo. Wait, college kids wrestle at Fargo too, right?
No,
that's just high school.
Just high school.
But you got Reno, and that's where you can qualify for.
So Reno, it's not Reno. So they have there's the U.S. Open.
Okay.
It's in Vegas.
Okay, it's Vegas.
Yep, and that's just senior level athletes.
And seniors 18 and up.
Yep. And then in Spokane, like the first 2 weeks of April, there's the U20 and U23 World Championship, or like the national
Qualifier.
team. Yeah, qualifier.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah.
So there's 6 of them that are like just like, okay, I want to do, other things outside of just collegiate wrestling.
Yeah, some are just focused on the college season, and that's okay. And then there's some that want to go beyond that, right? Want to make the world team or just get extra competition.
Yeah.
Right? And it's good to see other wrestlers not only in our national tournament, but in other team or other like NCAA, and maybe there's even some wrestlers that don't even go to college, but they're just training for the world team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's kind of like what will happen with like the Mountaineer Open. Like you as long as you're a senior wrestler, you can wrestle in that, right? You don't have to be affiliated.
No.
You can just sign up, like even
unattached.
high school kids, even if you're a high school kid, right?
Yeah.
As long as you're old enough.
Yep.
So the on the 3rd, right? Is that a women's thing too?
No, so
that's just men's.
Just
year?
men's. Yep.
So,
this year we switched it up. We're doing ours December 8th.
Okay. Last year it was same time.
Yeah, it was together.
When's your first event? Like, when's your first match?
November 9th, we're headed up to Great Falls, Montana.
And wrestling.
It's called the Battle of the Rockies.
Oh.
It's going to be a pretty big tournament. He does a pretty good job hosting a tournament, and there's going to be a couple teams that are ranked in the nation there, so it'll be a pretty good test right from the get-go.
When you started wrestling in college, did you ever see yourself as a women's college wrestling coach?
No, I just knew I was going to coach somewhere, somehow.
Yeah.
I think my ultimate goal, even when I was younger, is to start a club team, just like, like a kids club.
Back home or?
Just anywhere. That was like my goal.
Yeah.
Or it's still my goal, maybe when I'm a little older, done with the college scene, maybe start my own club.
If I asked one of the women wrestlers on your team, hey, what's Mhar's strengths? What are they going to tell me?
Probably communicating.
Yeah.
I try my best to check in with them as much as I can. I know sometimes they probably don't appreciate it as much, but I think when they look back, they're like, wow, he really checked on me, see how I did. And I think that would be my strength.
What about weakness?
Weakness?
If I went up to say one of your captains or whatever and said, hey, what does Mhar kind of struggle with a little bit?
Maybe I would say just throwing technique. Maybe like upper body throwing technique. I think that's one thing I struggle with, my weakness.
So do you have coaches that are better at that technique or teaching that technique than you?
Yeah.
Well, then you're doing it right.
Yeah. I mean, I know the basics. I'll show them what's right, but I'm not like the best at it to where they're like confident that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm their coach. They gotta trust the process, trust me, and that's what it's all about, right? Being coachable and trusting your coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, man, I appreciate it. I am a fan of EOU women's wrestling, as you know. And I just love to see the progress, man. I love to see how far it's come. Not just the sport, which it's come so far, but the sport here at EOU. I mean, it's this women's team is competitive and it's fun to watch, man. It really is. Eastern Oregon. He's EOU women's head wrestling coach Mhar Caballa. I'm Dodzy. Mhar, I appreciate you.
Yep, thank you.
What is up, Eastern Oregon? This is Dodgy with the EOAlive Sports, and today I'm joined by EOU Women's Wrestling. She's a senior, Brooke Cicierski. Brooke, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. So I asked this. This is my leadoff question for pretty much everybody. How'd you end up at EOU?
My coach that recruited me to Great Falls ended up coming out here, so that's how I knew about EOU. And I ended up just wanting to transfer, and I called her up and ended up coming out here that way.
Oh, you came here when Coach Carlene was here still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Providence for 2 years, and then a transfer to EOU.
Mm-hmm.
Like as a kid, how'd you get involved in wrestling?
I started my sophomore year of high school. I was kind of just looking for a new sport because I'm 4'11", and volleyball and basketball kind of were out of the picture for me.
No.
Yeah.
You could be a libero or a setter.
Yeah. I did track for a little bit. I did love track because it was just the individual aspect.
Yeah.
And actually, me and my dad were joking one day, and I said, what if I go out for football? And he said, I'm like, he knows I don't like football, so he's like, oh no. And I'm like, wrestling? He's like, oh no, like I don't think that would be good. And I started thinking about it, and then I brought home the papers because signups were like, I think the week after we had that conversation. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. And then we bought my first pair of wrestling shoes, and I went to the first practice. I had no knowledge about it at all.
Zero. So
Zero.
You're like 15 years old, 16 maybe?
Yeah.
And that's the first time you'd ever stepped on a mat? Mm-hmm. Wow.
And, I mean, they tried their hardest to run me out of the room, but I love to lift, I love to work hard, and that's kind of how I fell in love more with that side of the sport, too.
Was there other girls wrestling at your school at the time?
One.
One?
Yes.
And so was it the boys trying to run you out of the room?
Yeah, but...
I mean, understandably.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily agree that it's just one of those things where, like, I'm so happy that now women's wrestling is the fastest growing high school sport in America because I think they need to be separated. Even at that age, like you should be wrestling girls if you're a girl, boys if you're a boy. It's just more it's fair. It's more fair that way. And wrestling's very intimate. I talk about this all the time. Like when you're a sophomore in high school, you're rolling around on a mat with a boy, it's kind of awkward.
Yeah. But I mean, like a lot of sports, like for women, we always got to fight for the spot. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it was crazy for a woman to even run a marathon, and
yeah.
Then she signed up. They tried to run her off of it, and you just have to show like that you can do it. And I actually looked it up the other day. 38 states so far have sanctioned girls wrestling.
Yeah, which is great. And probably I don't know the exact number, but I'd say 90% of those are within like the last 10 years.
Yep, right when I graduated. My senior years, they sanctioned it right after I graduated, which was awesome. I think the most girls I wrestled was 6 in the entire state of Montana.
That's it? Mm-hmm. So you were wrestling boys every day. I mean, yeah, obviously only one girl.
And I shouldn't say, I had some really good teammates, but then, you always had the ones that don't want you there. But
yeah,
I did have some, like a lot of support too.
That's awesome. What about this year? Is this your final year?
Yes.
So you're done wrestling after this?
Maybe.
Well, I mean, you can still do opens and whatever.
Yeah.
Try for 23U or whatever. What do you want to accomplish this year? What's your plan? Like last year, college wrestling.
Obviously, I mean, the goal is always to make it to nationals.
Yeah.
But I mean, I always start off with little goals. I love saying like, I want to try and place at every tournament I go to. I mean, really, the sport is just fun for me. It's like I've never taken it too seriously because I know as soon as I start doing that, it's not going to be fun.
Right.
So I always just keep it light and be like, I'm just going to try my best and see where I end up at. And I think I ended last year like a very, very good. And so I just want to keep building off of last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look at wrestling. My son wrestles in college. And I look at it kind of like it's a character developing sport. It really is. And it's a character developing sport in the way that it really like makes you disciplined and it really, I mean, like you don't see wrestlers, especially at the college level, that are, late to things. You don't see, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those things that's going to help you down the road. I promise you that.
Yes.
What about for you, if you had to choose, like if say in a different world, would wrestling be your sport regardless? I mean, have you fallen in love with it?
Yes.
Yeah?
Like, I mean, even after it ends, I'm like thinking, like, I want to be a counselor, and I'm like, okay, I can like do morning practices as like a volunteer coach, or I've done a little bit of reffing, but I think being like an assistant coach, volunteer coach, like at a high school or at a college would be like super fun. I always want to be around the sport.
Stay involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing about it? Like the head to head, or what do you love?
I think
about
it's just pushes you beyond your limits. Like, it's like every time I get done with like a really hard workout, it's just like, yeah, like I did it. And like it just sets up the rest of the stuff I have to do that day. It's like, well, if I can do this, I can get through this master's program. I can do hard things.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you consistently had to cut weight to stay at weight, whatever weight you wrestled?
I haven't been a huge cutter, just because I think I wrestled, probably my lowest was 126 in high school, but then I started falling in love with the weight room, and then I just wanted to get strong,
Yeah.
And so that was kind of my mentality. I mean, the most I've ever had to cut is like maybe 3 or 5 pounds.
But are you cutting every week to
No.
make weight?
No.
So you don't have like a regimen where you balloon up to what if you're wrestling what are you going to wrestle this year?
I'm going to do 138.
Yeah, so you're not going up to like 143 every week and dropping down to 138 on Fridays.
No, I usually stay right around that weight.
When you did have to cut weight, what was the worst part about it?
Just the water, like wanting to drink water. And
Thirsty. Oh.
yeah, I feel like as soon as you have that, like, oh, I can't do this, you want to just do it even more.
100%.
I can't drink water, so then you're constantly thinking about water. But
it's like food. If I'm not hungry, right, or if I'm a little bit hungry, and I don't have anything sitting in front of me, I crave something even more. But if I'm like a little bit hungry or not hungry, and I have a burger sitting in front of me, I don't eat it. You know what I mean? Like, because it's right there. I'm not, it's like it's very similar with that whole water situation when it comes to cutting weight, man. It's brutal. I'm glad that you've never had to really cut, because watching people go through that, my son went through it for 3 years.
Yeah.
And it was miserable.
I mean, like probably the worst days are like the second day before like a tournament, when like you have to like, all right, I got to watch my water intake, because I usually have to like, cut it a little bit just to make weight. So that's always hard. But I try to keep a good attitude on the trip. Like, even though we're all cutting, I try to like make jokes and just make it as fun as possible.
I've rode the bus with you before.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yes.
I went with you guys to Central Oregon and took pictures and streamed it, and everybody on that bus trip was fairly happy, especially considering, you're right. You're getting ready to go weigh in, you know what I mean? And I know what that means for most people. Mm-hmm. What about in your personal life? What are you going to school for?
So mental health counseling.
Yeah.
I eventually want to get into my own private practice, but I'm just open to
And you're graduated. You have a bachelor's.
Yes.
Right? And then now you're working on the master's.
Mm-hmm. So this is my first term of the 2-year program.
What do you think about that so far?
It's been good. I mean, the online format is interesting. Next term, I'm a little bit more excited, because that's when I get to start doing more Zoom calls with people in my cohort and work on projects together with them. So that's been fun. But this term has just been a lot of reading and
book work.
Yeah, book work.
Yeah. And so is this program a 2-year program? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's nice. Good. Okay, so what about pineapple on pizza? You like pineapple on pizza?
No.
What if it's there? Will you eat it?
I'll pick it off.
You'll pick it off?
Yeah.
I'm not a pineapple on pizza dude. I love pineapple. I don't like hot pineapple. I don't like it warm. What about your favorite food? What's your go-to? Like, whether it be something that mom or dad cooks, or something that you cook, or something you get in a restaurant?
I think if I had to go like mom and dad like food, it'd probably be my mom's shrimp linguine.
Oh, yum.
I love shrimp linguine. Yeah. And then like fast food, kind of like fries, like French fries. I love potatoes.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Honestly, I love everything that's bad, like pasta and bread and potatoes. You know what I mean? Like it's just, isn't that weird how like everything that's like super good tasting is like super bad?
Yeah.
Well, not everything, but a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah. By the way, potatoes aren't really good for you, but I'm going to make them so good with sour cream, which isn't really good for you, or ranch, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's crazy. What about like if you were to go to like a restaurant and sit down and order something? What are you ordering?
I don't know. What am I ordering?
Yeah.
I usually, if I go into a fancy restaurant,
Yeah.
I like a big steak.
Yeah?
Like steak.
Like a T-bone or a
Yeah.
ribeye or
Yeah, steak and mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Probably my go-to if we're
Nice.
going out.
And so growing up, you grew up in Billings. Mm-hmm. What was your favorite part about growing up in Billings?
Probably the people
Yeah.
I met, I still am best friends with my best friend Amy and since first grade, and like we still talk every day, and yeah, I guess the people I grew up around.
What's the most? What's your favorite thing about here, about Eastern Oregon, about the Valley?
It's beautiful.
It is
Like
very beautiful.
Billings, that's kind of like what I think about. It's not my favorite, kind of like an eyesore to me personally. So when I came to LeGrand, like I always wanted to live in a place close to mountains.
Yeah.
And like it's also that you can see the sunsets here, which is awesome. Like it's
Yeah.
not covered by mountains.
Right.
So I love that about LeGrand. And it's small enough. I love like that it takes 5 minutes to get anywhere.
Right.
Like
You know,
Billings, it was like I would drive 30 minutes across town. I used to think like, oh, like that's not that bad. And then moving here and going back home, I'm like,
You're
oh,
like,
I can't do this.
Right. It's just so 10 years from now, where are you?
I think me and my husband talk about it, and like we think we want to stay here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if we were to move, maybe go to Kalispell, Montana.
I know Kalispell.
Yeah.
I used to play in a baseball tournament every summer there when I played Legion baseball, the Sapa Johnson Road.
That's awesome.
Or actually, it's in Whitefish, which is right down the road.
Yeah.
Right, like right down the road. But sometimes we'd stay in Kalispell.
Yeah,
It's a nice
that's where
area.
my mom's from. So a lot of like my
That's beautiful, like here.
yeah.
Maybe even more beautiful because you got Glacier right down the road. You got Flathead Lake. I mean, that's just is that what it is? Flathead Lake?
yeah.
It's just a beautiful area. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, so that leads into the next question: beach or mountains?
mountains
All day?
all day.
No question.
No question.
What do you like to do in the mountains? Do you like snowboarding, skiing?
I hike.
You like hiking?
Yeah, hiking and camping. So we got our
Getting out
tent.
in that nice fresh air.
Yeah, we did the 9-mile loop around Anthony.
Yeah, the big one. Yeah.
So that was fun this summer.
Yeah, that's a good hike. Obviously, you can't do it right now, but in the summertime you can, right?
Yeah.
I think you can cross country ski it in the winter.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I've tried that once. My sister got me to try it, but I fell down a lot,
I
which
don't-
is
I don't do
embarrassing,
the
even though
skis.
you're going like not even fast.
I don't do the skiing thing. I'm too big, man. If I start moving too fast going down a hill, that scares me. Like, it's really hard to stop mass when it starts moving. So I skied when I was a kid. I tried it, broke my hand up at Anthony actually, and after that I was like, nah, this ain't for me.
yeah.
And I don't like snow. I don't like being cold. So it's like it was a simple choice. What about the team goals for your wrestling team this year, the women? What do you guys want to do as a team? I mean, because it's an individual sport, but there's also a team aspect to it.
We want to get a high GPA. I think that's one of our top priorities right now. And this year we've been killing it, so we're getting to our goal.
That's good.
I think we want to have at least 5 or 6 placers at nationals, 5 or 6 academic All-Americans at least.
Yeah. Have you guys talked about like a finish like for the CCC? I mean, I think where are you guys ranked?
We
right
wrote
now?
it on the board, but I can't really picture what we wrote. I know it's probably within the top 10.
I mean, I think nationally you should have a goal of top 10. There's
Yeah.
no doubt. Yeah. I mean, who knows if we get there or not, but that should always be a goal. I mean, the ultimate goal should be a national championship,
Yeah.
right? But then the real, you have to have, I kind of look at it like if you're not going for a national championship, then why are you here?
Yeah.
But then you also have to have these step goals that are kind of like the little sister or the little brother. Like, hey, if we don't get here, it would also be good to be a top 10 team or a top 15 team.
Which is like, it's also interesting because it's like all the girls coming from high school have to learn a completely different style. So then it's like,
you guys freestyle in college.
So it's like you have that learning curve of like each new like.
Do you like that
freshman.
better? Do you like freestyle better?
Oh,
than
I love freestyle.
Almost all girls that I talk to, well, women, because most of them that are freestyle wrestling are college age, prefer it. Why? Just because it pushes the pace?
Yeah, it pushes the pace. And like I just love that we're like back on our feet.
All the time.
Shots are fun. I mean, my favorite move is the double leg pickup.
Yeah.
If you can just pick them up, it's a great feeling.
Yeah. But you prefer freestyle over folk style, and you wrestled folk in high school.
Yep. It's interesting though because all the new freshmen come in. They're like, "No, I love folk style. I'm like, I give it like 2 years and. You change it. Yeah, you change fast.
What was the hardest transition? Like the hardest thing when transitioning from folk to free?
Honestly, I can't really remember. I think for me, it was like getting the hang of fighting on bottom.
Yeah.
Because it is different. Like you don't have to move, but you still have to fight a different way to not get turned.
Right. You can't let them just start rolling you. I mean, because that's a common move is to like, well, I don't know what it's called per se.
The gut wrench?
Yeah, the gut wrench. There you go, where they just roll you over and over and then the match is over. That makes sense. Not one, you have to be defensive when you're on, but you don't have to wrestle back because they're going to stand you right up anyway. Right? That's crazy. That's crazy. Okay, so let's go back to you for a few minutes. Would you rather be in prison for 5 years or a coma for 10?
I say prison for 5.
Yeah, me too. It's easy.
Yeah.
They
got classes.
Yep. You can make yourself better.
They got church.
Yep. And I say this all the time. The only thing is you come out with that label, but you don't have 10 years worth of life that you completely missed out on, including your kids, your family, or whatever you have going on in your life. You would just wake up and it would be 10 years would be gone.
Yeah.
What about music? You got your phone on you?
Yes.
What's the last song that you listened to on your playlist?
How do I look at that?
Well, whatever. I mean, just open up. It should be still there if you listen to something, Spotify, whatever.
Right now it's saying on the other line, Luke Combs.
Country song.
Yep.
You're a country girl?
I'm a country girl.
Only country?
No, not only country. I like country. I listen to worship music and then Christian rock.
Skillet?
Yes. Love
I've
Skillet.
been to Skillet 6 times. Yeah, they're really good live.
I've been to August Burns Red. I don't know if you're like...
Yeah, I know who they are. Yeah. Skillet live, though, is like, dude, it's the whole... Their pyro is... Oh, it's so good.
Yes.
It's so good. What about for, like, your hero? Who's your hero?
I would say my parents, probably.
Yeah?
My mom and dad.
Why?
Just because they've always been so loving, and like I feel like when I have kids, I know how I want to treat them, just because how my parents have treated me.
Yeah. What about if you could have a superpower? What superpower would you have? Any superpower.
I like think of so we used to ask like what dumb superpower would you want?
Yeah.
And mine would be like or I think my brother-in-law said having the ability to tell when someone's gonna sneeze before they sneeze. So you just say bless you,
and then all of a sudden they sneeze and they're like totally dumbfounded.
Yeah.
But what about like a real superpower?
Probably flight or super strength. I'd like to be stronger than I am now.
You look pretty strong. One of the things you talked about is the weight room. What got you in love with that?
I think in high school, like we had like a weightlifting class, and then my sister always lifted, and my brother lifted. My brother did football, and my sister was in track, and so I always been around it, and I guess I didn't fit the beauty standard, so like my definition was like, fine, I'm just gonna go look jacked then if I don't fit the beauty standard, if that makes sense.
Well, not to me. I mean, I don't know.
Because guys would always like point out my arms and say like, yo, you have like big arms, but like insultingly. So I'm like, fine, I'm just gonna go make them.
So you use that as motivation.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna go make them bigger, and then I just love lifting heavy.
Isn't
and
that
it's
weird how people are like, dude, like really? Like, someone pointing out, you have big arms, weird. Like, it's like, that's crazy to me, but it is. I'm glad you used it as motivation to better yourself.
Yeah.
And the weight room is a great place to take out, frustration.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's a good, and it teaches a lot of discipline too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like even after this, like I've talked about doing like powerlifting competitions. Or
You have a girl from LeGrand that's a power.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, she came into the room.
You've heard of Harley Creech?
Mm-hmm.
She power lifts. I don't remember exactly what town she is, but she's pretty good at it too.
Yeah.
What about for like in the room when at practice? What's one thing that like Coach Mhar says that is like funny? You know what I mean? There's always a coach always has something that they like say a lot that's either annoying, funny. What does Mhar say? What's his go-to? Like some coaches will say.
He'll always like slap his hands and be like, "All right, guys." All right, like he'll say all right guys a lot.
That's his all right guys.
Yeah, like let's get into it, let's get after it. That's his saying. Let's get after it.
He's kind of quiet, huh? Like he's a little quiet. Like I don't know about in the room. I've never wrestled for him, but like outside of that, he's not the guy that's going to come up to you and start a conversation usually.
Yeah, I'd say in handball.
Handball?
When we play handball.
Yeah.
He gets into it.
Does he?
He's like
He's competitive.
Yeah.
That's good. I want a coach that's competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what's been your hardest thing like in college? Like what's whether it be like something school related, whether it be something what's the hardest thing you've had to go through so far?
Like all of college?
Yeah.
I guess thinking like team-wise, I guess finding like-minded people, probably. But it feels like here, like you got a good group who's actually wanting to work towards the same goal, so that's been super cool. But previous experiences hasn't been like that.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's good. I mean, finding like-minded people when you're talking about building a team is super important, as you know. What about you'd have to give up one of these things for a month? Shower or internet?
Internet. I'm a germaphobe.
You're going to go for a whole month without the internet.
Yes.
I mean, I would too, but it would be really hard.
But then I guess I would fail my program because it's all
I was
online.
going to say you're all online school. Like, how would you do that? It's impossible. Do you like online school?
I didn't think I would, but I'm starting to.
Yeah?
Just because it's a lot of kind of like your own schedule.
Yeah, but you have to be so disciplined.
The library is where I live.
You separate.
Yeah, I can't do it at home.
You almost have to, huh? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you get in like distractions everywhere, whether it be the husband or anything.
We also live in a studio, and he'll be playing Call of Duty Call of Duty. So I'm like, I gotta go to the library. And
yeah, definitely.
But it's nice to have a place because I always take like study rooms, or I change my place in the library, and that helps me study.
Good.
And to-do list. I mean, I always have my check boxes and stuff, so
Good.
I stay on top of it. So it's been fine.
What are you most looking forward to this year, wrestling-wise?
Just enjoying it. Like, it's finally hitting me, like, that, like, oh, this is the last year. So I'm like, I'm really trying to push myself each practice or just find something to be happy about, you know?
Absolutely.
Because I feel like when you have, like, 4 years or 5 years left of the sport, like, it's easy to kind of get in your head and be like, oh, like, or, like, the down thoughts. Yeah.
And this year, it's just like, hey, this is my last year.
Yeah,
I'm just
my
gonna let it fly
last
and roll with it, right?
Yeah.
Last question, then I'll get you out of here. I'm a senior in high school. Pretend like I'm a senior in high school. And I'm trying to find a place to wrestle. I'm a girl, too, by the way. Why should I come wrestle for EOU Women's Wrestling?
Because we'll really build up your skills, and, like, you'll get the attention you need. You'll get the tournament experience that you need instead of, you know, I guess you might not be the starter, but you will go to tournaments.
Yeah.
And you'll have a good support system around you.
Good. Eastern Oregon, she's EOU Women's Wrestling's Brooke Cicierski. I'm Dodsey. Brooke, thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.